listening to the podcast. For those of you watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop your comments down below, share if you can. For those of you listening on Spotify, Apple, or any of the other podcasting platforms, please follow, give us a 5-star review as well. All of that stuff helps with the algorithms and gets us in front of more eyeballs and hopefully grows the podcast. So all of it is much appreciated. Now let's get into the special segment for this week's pod. We're going to do a North London derby combined 11. So the rules of play, Jonts, we're both doing 4-3-3 or 4-4-3, as Todd Bowley once said. And we're going to be doing not based on current availability or suspensions or anything. We're just going to do, if both teams had their strongest squads available, who would be in the combined 11. So we'll start off with goalie. I expect this to be a quick one. Who's your goalie, Johns?
David Raya, Vicario. Nice try. You did all right last season, but you ain't getting in there, mate.
Yeah, Vicario is a good player. I think he's decent. I think there was a bit of hype at the beginning because of. I think Tottenham fans were just so happy to see the back of Lloris that they were gonna hype up anyone who came in and didn't flap about. So I think he was decent, but he kind of got exposed on the old corner thing, and I think people have probably slightly overhyped him. I think he's a good Premier League goalie, but I do think Raya's at least slightly better than him. And I think this season Raya started like a house on fire. He's been really impressive. So I think that's a tap-in one. To be honest, I think this whole defence is going to be pretty easy to say.
Pretty much.
We'll move on to right back then. Who's your right back?
Benny Blanco. Pedro Porro. This is a close one though, because Pedro Porro is good, but I think Ben White defensively is miles better than him. I think attacking wise, they're probably closer to each other, but yeah, Porro doesn't offer enough in a defensive quarter, whereas Ben White is the don of the shithousery and of the defending. So we'll take that.
Yeah. I think this one, I agree with you. I was tempted by Porro because I do think going forward, Porro is better. I think he chips in with more goals, and I think he's basically a winger, isn't he? But I do think defensively and all-round game, you have to go for Ben White because I think the gap between the two in defence is massive. I think Ben White's a significantly better defensive right back than Porro is. Porro's kind of got a bit of the bozo gene in him. He does dumb stuff sometimes. Yes. And I don't think Ben White has that. Unless you're Rashford in your prime and you're sending him with flip-flaps. All right, let's go centre-back pairing. This one should be easy as well, isn't it?
Yes.
It's got to be.
I don't want to hear none of it from anyone. I know that they love Van der Ven and they love Romero, but I'm sorry, you're not getting in there. It's not. It's Saliba and Gabriel. All right, you'd probably be fourth choice. You'd be fourth choice centre-back for us. All right, so set yourself down.
I think the temptation will probably be more on the Gabriel and Van der Ven side, right? Because I've seen some clips as well recently. Some people did overrated Premier League 11s, and I saw stuff about Gabriel being rubbish. I'm not having that. Gabriel is underrated.
No, he was severely
underrated.
He was better than Saliba last season, and no one wants to put it because he's got the bozo gene, or he's had the bozo gene on him. He's got it in him, and he's had it and shown it a couple of times. Season before last. Even they're blaming him for the Brighton goal, and I'm sorry, I didn't blame him for the Brighton goal. I actually thought it was Saliba's fault. But no, I'm not having that about Gabriel. And they love Van der Ven so much, but I'm sorry, just because he can run up and down the pitch fast doesn't mean he's good at defending. And if he can run up and down the pitch so fast, and he's with a World Cup winning centre back, why are you conceding so many goals? Right? You've apparently got a good goalkeeper as well. So I don't want to hear that, Highline or not. The two of you are stinking it up if you're letting in this many goals for this many teams.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care if you can run 90 yards and put an assist through. You're a centre back. That's not what I'm paying you for.
It's funny. It's funny that you've got more smoke for Van der Ven because I've definitely got more smoke for Romero. I don't.
Oh no, Romero stinks as well, but he's dead and buried. I don't even need to talk about him. They were trying to gas him up as if he was as good as Van Dijk a couple of seasons ago, and my man is literally. God. He's probably the most useless centre back I've seen ever. All he is shithousery. From your players, you want them to be good plus a bit of a shithouse. That works, right? Like a Roy Keane-esque Patrick Vieira. It works. But if you're absolute crap and you're a shithouse, who cares? You're just Neil Mope. Like, you're just centre back Neil Mope.
Wow.
That's all that you are.
Wow.
Right? Like, why
I
do I
was
care
not
about
expecting that. I was not
Stinks.
expecting this rant. Beautiful. Clear bit up. But I agree. No, I agree. Romero's. I just hate that he's always put in a convo with Lissandro, and it's always like, oh, who's better? Like, don't even start. I know Lissandro's had a stinker start, but for me, there's not even a combo. But whatever. I agree with you. It's Galiba centre back pairing, Gabriel and Saliba for sure. Left back. All right, so this one might be a bit tasty. Who have you gone for this one?
So, as much as I hate Tottenham, I'm not stupid, and I think some Arsenal fans would probably go early on Calafiori or go early on Timber, but I don't think they've done enough in an Arsenal shirt to warrant them being put in ahead of Udogie, who had a really good season for Tottenham last year. So yeah, I can't do that. I don't think Zinchenko belongs in that conversation either. You've got to be going for. I'm not going to say proven because it's only been one season, but I'm going to say you've got to go for who's more proven. And, Calafiori could have an unbelievable season. Timber could have an unbelievable season. And maybe next season I'd put them into the combined 11. But I don't think you can do that off of their body of work so far.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this one has to be a dog. Yeah, and I agree with you. Maybe some people might say Timber. They might say Calafiori. But I think that would just be bias. I think they might be better players than Udogie long term. But Udogie was sensational last season. And if he didn't get injured, he would have been team of the season left back because of his performances. Yeah. And I think, he's one of Tottenham's real shining lights in terms of their young players. And I know they've gone for this strategy. You can see with the signings they've done this transfer window that Bergvall, Archie Gray. Yeah, going for a lot of youngsters. So I think they're really putting stocks in finding these young gems. And with Udogie, I think it's probably part of the reason why they think there's some success in that, because he's been class. So yeah, I think Udogie left back. All right, centre midfield. I'll give you mine first. So I've gone real P. I've gone real P and P with this. So I've gone Declan Rice and Pape Matar Sarr. I just think both of them up and down. They're both good going forward, both good driving with the ball. Declan Rice will probably be able to sit a bit better because I think Sarr kind of doesn't have that side of his game fully flushed out yet. But he's getting better. So yeah, I'm going to go for Rice and Sarr. Obviously, I know Rice is suspended for this game in reality, but I couldn't put Basuma in there. The amount of bozo moments he's had as well, bloody laughing gas and all this other stuff as well. I couldn't put him in there. There's too much gas been put on Basuma. I was hearing Basuma versus Rice combos at some point last season, and I almost threw up. So yeah,
weren't they trying to do like Basuma versus Rodri combos as well a couple of years ago? They were trying to do all kinds of madness, so we're not going to allow that.
Blasphemy.
But
blasphemy.
I've done it a bit of a different way because I kind of put Partey and Basuma as like side by side to say who's better, and then I did Rice versus Sarr, and I didn't really think of it any other way, but I probably should have because I do like Sarr, and I actually would probably prefer to put him in over Partey. But I'm going to go with what I wrote down, which is, Basuma Partey is just bozo off. It's just like, I don't really want either of them. But if I have to absolutely choose, I'm going Partey. Which is pretty funny because Basuma likes to do some balloons while he's partying. And then between Rice and Sarr, I went for Rice. I think Sarr's really good, and if I could write this again, I would probably put Sarr and Rice together. But I think they're probably relatively similar in how they play, maybe. So yeah, I'm gonna go Partey and Rice. Who have you got in the 10? I don't even want to hear. If I hear anything beginning with M, that's not Martin. We're going to have some real issues here.
No, you know I'm not one of those Wallies. I hate that Madison's in convos with Bruno. But people don't even put him in conversations. They unequivocally say he's better than Bruno, and it's just who's it? I heard someone's. Oh God! I heard someone say, I literally was so disgusted that I almost choked myself. I think I've heard people talk about this modern fan obsession with liking like people who look players who look good on the eye. and they're like street ballers, cage ballers, and focus on doing things stylishly and less on like end product. And I think it's such a good description of where like current football fandom is right now. And it was different back in the day. People try and compare it and say, you know, we used to love R9 and Zidane and all these guys before. And it's the same logic. And I go, no, because those guys actually delivered and won the top honours and absolutely balled out. They weren't just style. They were style and substance. And in this day and age, okay, we don't have those players as much anymore. There's very few, in fact, if any. But we do. So we do. I would, if we have to choose between style and substance right now, I'm going for substance with as much style as you can get. And people these days go the other way. And so when you look at that and you compare Maddison and Odegaard in that position, maybe Maddison does look slightly silkier on the ball. Maybe at times he does like glide with the ball, you know, and it might be more visually appealing than Odegaard. But there is no world where he is more impactful in terms of delivering for his team with goals and assists or pre-assists or whatever bollocks the tacticos want to call them these days. Odegaard is clear. I'm not even going to say it's a debate. He's clear. Maddison's a very good player. I'm not saying he's not a very good player, but there are some players that are clear. De Bruyne is clear. Odegaard is clear. I don't think Bruno's clearer than Maddison. I think he's better than him, and I think it's disgusting that there's convo, but I don't think he's clear. But I think those two are clear in terms of their impact. They've shown it now. So I think you have to go Odegaard in the cab. I don't think there's a discussion. And I'm expecting you not to really disagree with me either.
No, I agree with you, and I think it's a great conversation you bring up because everybody's got this like obsession with streets will never forget type borders, like the Adel Tarats, the Eden McGeadys of the world and stuff like that. But yeah, no one's trying to say that Adel Tarat was better than Eden Hazard or that Eden McGeady was better than Cristiano Ronaldo. Like we can appreciate players that are stylish and have something about them and look good on the eye without trying to get them in conversations that they don't belong in. And I'm sorry to say, I'm not saying that Maddison's in that kind of category that he's so far off, but I think by the end of his career, you're going to look back and say, what has he done with it? And what did he contribute to any success that Tottenham had? And I honestly, I don't think you can consider him to be a core player of that team. I still look at him somewhat like I looked at Ozil at Arsenal and at a lot of other teams as well. It's like, he's a bit of a luxury player. Like it's, if you've got all the other foundation around him, it's great to have him, and he can elevate you a little bit as well. But if you haven't got the foundation, it don't really matter if you have Maddison or not. He's not going to be able to take a game by the scruff of the neck, generally speaking, especially not against big teams. He's barely ever there because he's injured quite frequently. So I just don't feel like you can rely on him. Whereas look at Bruno, look at Odegaard. Odegaard, I'm literally about to cry. I don't know what to do without him now that we've not got him. You guys without Bruno would be a completely different animal as well, even worse than you are now. So
you saw it last season.
Exactly. I don't think you can say that about Maddison. I like stick Maddison in there. I'm like, oh yeah, they're a bit more creative. They look a little bit nicer, but are they really all that different from without him? I honestly don't think they are. They're obviously a little bit better, but I just don't think he's a game changer like a Bruno is to a Man United or an Odegaard is to Arsenal. So yeah, streets will never forget him. Maybe I don't even think he's in that category yet, but he's not going to be in this best cam of Premier League era conversation. And I'm not saying that Odegaard should be in there or Bruno should be in there yet. I think by the end of their careers they could be, but just right now they're not. But I don't even think he's on that trajectory.
Nah. I think Maddison's is going to be remembered as a good Premier League player in a similar way than like a Letitia or something like that was during the earlier Premier League years. Like people who know ball will say that he was a good player, but he won't be elevated and he shouldn't be elevated into those top conversations because he's just not in that bracket, man. And I think that's okay. I don't think that's even like a slant on him or to say something just absolutely horrible. I just think that's just the reality. I think people are forcing it to try and get him in there because he does some nice things. But I just don't think like you said, I don't even know if I feel uncomfortable even putting him in streets will forget type player. I think he's just a very good technical player, but anything beyond that, I think people are just forcing it because, we want to try and get more players in this era into those conversations. But I don't think we should do that. I think we should just, like it's like dropping the bar for world class. I just don't think we should do it. I think we should just keep the standards up. And if people don't hit it, they don't hit it. It's all good. All right, let's go to right wing. Again, this should be a tap in. Bukayo Saka, surely for both of us. Yeah, big sacks. Get in. All right, Bukayo's going to be right wing. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see. A lot of pressure on him now that Odegaard's injured as well. Let's see how he stands up to it. Generally, so far, he's done well. So let's keep it going. Left wing, I think this should be a tap in as well. Probably the other way. I've gone for Asia's best ever player, Heung-min Son. Have you done that too? You got to.
Yeah.
Rivalry aside. Yeah, I saw some very irritating conversations about Son and because I think some other channels have done combined 11s, all-time combined 11s and stuff. And some Tottenham fan reps were saying, reminding people, he scored 140 goals for Spurs from the left wing, right? I saw that stat that was going around when Salah, I think it was before Salah put us to the sword, when he was like, what was it, 200 goals and assists or something, or 300 goals and assists in 350 games or something. Like Son is approaching like Premier League Hall of Fame type level of output. And I know he's played for Spurs and Spurs have stunk it up and they've done nothing, but his output is getting to a level where people are going to have some uncomfortable conversations and start to think why they're not putting him in those combos, because he has been world class at times, and even now he's their best finisher by a mile. He might be the best finisher on this list, I'll be honest. So I've gone Son left wing, and I think you probably agree. Yeah, we're Son on that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I just think that I've seen some ridiculous conversation also about like, oh, he's not a winger anymore, he can only play striker, as if like his legs are completely gone and he's just got nothing left. And I think people are really disingenuous about this, because I think if it's because it's Tottenham, and because like he's just so good at finishing that they can't seem to find a striker that can put a ball into the back of the net. Maybe they will with Solanke, but they're kind of forcing him into that position when Kane leaves. And it's almost if like, they're putting him in that position because he's an unbelievable finisher, but don't forget that he's still a really good left winger. And that's probably, in my opinion, still his prime position. Maybe in a couple of years, I think his legs will be gone. But also remember that Son can be a bit up and down. Like he has times where he bangs in 4 goals against one team in one match. And he has times where he doesn't score for 3, 4, 5 games. I think people forget that like Son is not invincible. I think he is a really, really good player. And I would say that he's the closest thing that they've got to world class in that team. And I think it's just really disingenuous what people are saying about him and trying to put him in conversations with players that he really doesn't belong with. Like, I don't want to hear him compared to, Cole Palmer's and all these other dons. Like, they've been doing it for a season or something, and they look really good. But I don't want to hear like people are, Cole Palmer's got to be chosen ahead of Son, or he's got to be ahead of this, or somebody else has got to be ahead of him. I think it's like people have completely forgotten Son's resume in the league. Like, and that's coming from somebody who hates Spurs. Like, I don't want to have to say anything nice about him, but his resume is, you can't touch him. Like, you wouldn't put people like this in conversation with Sadio Mane. Why are you putting him in conversation with Son? Like, Son's done more in the league so far. I know, like, trophy-wise hasn't, but like in terms of his resume in the league, he's done more. Like in terms of goals and assists and output. So, I just think it's a disingenuous conversation that people are having, and I sometimes wonder if it's just because he's kind of not he's quiet. He's not coming out trying to say stuff about him, and he doesn't have a big South Asian community or East Asian community, coming out and backing him in media and this, that, and the other. That he just gets kind of left by the wayside in all these conversations all the time. So,
I definitely think that is the case, bro. I think it is, and I'm not trying to like race bait or do any kind of madness with it. It's just common sense. He is absolutely in conversations with Mane. With Salah. I mean, I'm not saying Salah's not better. Salah is better, but I'm just saying he's in that bracket of elite wingers. Salah, Mane, Hazard. In the modern era, Son is in that category and can chat to them. I'm not saying he's better than them all, but I'm saying he can rightfully chat to them. People are absolutely disrespectful when they just like dismiss him and put him in the bracket below. He's not. He's in that bracket firmly. and he's absolutely mashed work. And if you look at some of those players, Liverpool, they've won one Premier League. It's not like they're so clear because of their trophies either. It's not even the case. So let's just be honest about it, and let's not add biases and perceptions of people into this conversation. Let's just look at their resume and how they've absolutely mashed it. He's literally been nicknamed Sonaldo. If someone is nicknamed Sonaldo, like that also might give you an inkling that he's bloody class, mate. You know what I mean? Being compared to, one of the GOATs. So, all right, let's go on to centre forward and wrap this up. This one might be a bit trickier. Who are you going for?
I'm going Havertz. And you can say what you want about Solanke. I think that his resume at Bournemouth is really good, but he ain't done shit for Tottenham yet. So I'm sorry, I'm not putting him into a combined 11. If this was a Bournemouth Arsenal combined 11 from last season, yeah, maybe I'd consider sticking him in there. But it's not like he's bloody Cristiano Ronaldo moving from Real Madrid to Juventus or something. It's not like it's unthinkable to leave him out of this list. And I think Havertz has been good for us. I'm not going to say he's been class, but I think he's been good. I think he's found his feet as a centre forward and not as really anything else for us. And I think if you have to line up with this team, I think a lot of people would stick Havertz in there. So I'm going Havertz. I know that will get flack, and I know people will go for Solanke because he's he's what you think of when you think of a 9, right? When you think of a centre forward, you don't think of Havertz, you think of Solanke. But I think that is doing Havertz a bit of a disservice because he's unorthodox. He's not what you expect from a striker. But if you look at his effectiveness and what he contributes to the team, I don't think you can argue that he does what needs to be done as a striker, and he adds a lot to a team.
Yeah, I think you're right. I did think this would probably be more of a Havertz and Solanke shootout, but it just didn't feel like there was like a clear and obvious choice between the two. So I've kind of bent the rules a bit, and I've gone for Trossard. And
okay, fair enough.
I get it. Havertz scored more goals last season. Solanke's definitely scored more goals last season. But I think for me, neither one of them have kind of proven enough to make me think, okay, that they're the clear striking choice here. And so when I thought about it, I just thought, who would I feel the most confident going into a game at centre forward who's going to bag me goals and get me important goals? And I think when you think about it from that perspective, I think Trossard was the one. And I know he's not a traditional 9, but I've liked him when he's played there. And I feel like he's come up with some real clutch goals, which I haven't quite seen. Obviously, Solanke's done nothing for Spurs yet. But with Havertz, I think he's getting there. He's getting there. And I'm building confidence in Havertz as a centre forward. And I think if we were to do this again, maybe before the next North London derby, I probably would lean towards him if he continues in the direction that he's going. But I think at this point, Trossard, it feels uncomfortable for me to not find a place for him in this team somewhere. And I think he can't go on the wings because I think the wingers that we've chosen are head and shoulders above him. But I think as centre forward, he can chat to Havertz and Solanke, and I think I would go for him. But I agree with you. In terms of the shootout between the two of them, it's hard. It's really, really hard. And I think Havertz has definitely mashed more work for you guys than Solanke, so I can understand that logic. All right, so we're pretty close, really, our teams, aren't we? I think centre midfield, I've put in a Sarr and you've put in a Partey. And then centre forward, you've gone for Havertz and I've gone for Trossard. But yeah, pretty resounding Arsenal team in combined 11, with a lot of Arsenal players in the team. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8, you've got 9. So wow, okay, yeah. So all right, guys, it's up to you then. You're gonna have to win this game then. This is a bit too one-sided for us to predict anything other. Oh well, to be fair, I was the only one who predicted
also, just be aware that the players that we've chosen, not all of them are actually starting. So
yeah, also true. That's a good point. Odegaard and Rice will not be in this game, so that does affect,
Correct.